Tim Z has a question, says, this is the last question for today, guys. He says, if we say that it's unreasonable to say that the universe had no beginning, why is it not also unreasonable to say that God had no beginning? Tim Z, I love this question. So it's a good question. It gets you thinking. But you might be surprised to know that this is a question that has been thought about and answered many, many times by Christian apologists, right? And this is encouraging to me because I just want to let you know, like, there's been a lot of brain power put into these things, and good brain power in many cases. And so here's the thought. If you guys have heard of, say, the Kalam cosmological argument, this is one of, there's many cosmological arguments. You could do the argument from contingency. That's another one that I won't get into. But let's say the Kalam one, since that's probably the most popular one at the moment, is the Kalam. And it's just, ignore the name. Okay, it goes like this. 3 little steps, and I'm going to give you the dumbed down version for the sake of speed here. If something has a beginning, then something must have caused it, right? The next step in the argument is that the universe had a beginning. And you can use arguments about like the redshift in the galaxies out there with the Hubble telescope and the theory of relativity and how its numbers dictate that the universe actually had a point of origin, had a beginning. So the universe had a beginning. And then the conclusion drives from those 2 principles, right? If everything had a beginning, that had a beginning had a cause, and the universe had a beginning, then the universe must have had a cause. Step 3, that's the conclusion. The universe has a cause. And then you ask, like, what could cause the universe? Okay, this is where you say, well, the universe is time, space, matter, and energy. So whatever caused the universe isn't time, space, matter, and energy. That's irrational to think something is self-caused. So if it came into existence, then it must have been through something timeless, something not bound by space, transcendent, something that is able to create mass but isn't made of mass, something that's incredibly powerful in order to create all the energy that's in the universe. I mean, this sounds a lot like God. So that's kind of how that argument goes. And the pushback is, well, if we say that it's unreasonable to say the universe had no beginning, why isn't it unreasonable to say God had no beginning? The reason why we can give evidence for the universe having a beginning, those same reasons don't apply to God. So the universe has this redshift, the theory of relativity, all these things point towards it having a beginning. Time, it's in time. Time seems to have had a beginning. We don't seem to be existing in infinite time. There's arguments against infinite equidistant segments of time that are important. And I think all demonstrate the universe had a beginning. But when you try to transpose those arguments onto God, they don't fit. For God is not in time, so you can't use the argument about time. He was timeless. Okay? God doesn't have a galaxy with shifting redshift and the theory of relativity. These things are all applicable in the universe, but they don't apply to God. What I'm saying here, in case I've lost anybody, which I'm sure I have, the reasons to think the universe had a beginning, if you take those same reasons and apply them to God, they don't apply. Let me give you an example of a parallel thing. A baby has a father. Well, if a baby has to have a father, why doesn't my cup have a father? Well, because the same reasons why a baby has a father don't apply to a cup. Cups aren't living beings. Cups don't descend from DNA borrowed from parents. Cups don't reproduce genetically. Like, okay, all the reasons to think babies have to have fathers don't apply to cups. All the reasons to think the universe had a beginning don't apply to God. So we're being completely logically consistent here. The nature of God is such that God is without a beginning. And so that same principle, the same 3 points, don't apply to God, right? If something has a beginning, right? If the universe has a beginning, it has a cause. Well, God doesn't have a beginning. Therefore, God doesn't have a cause, right? That'd be premise 2 would be God doesn't have a beginning. Therefore, conclusion, God doesn't have a cause. The logic's totally consistent. If you want to know more on this, I recommend you check out the work of William Lane Craig, who's a philosopher who spent many years working on the Kalam cosmological argument, answering objections. There's a little book you really might like, Tim Z, and it's called On Guard. Okay, On Guard is a book written by Dr. Craig that goes through some of these things, and I think you would find it a treasure. So I recommend that to you all. I will be with you guys next Friday. That's the next video thing I've got planned. Nothing for a week. And the next Friday, I'll be with you for a live Q&A. But then the 24th, December 24th, that's my birthday, actually. So I'm not going to be doing anything on that day except like sleep in, drink coffee, and play video games. I don't know. Go somewhere with my wife. That's about it. And then I I'm not sure if I'll do anything on New Year's Eve. I'll announce something later on that. I'm kind of kicking around some ideas, so we'll see. Otherwise, thank you guys for joining me. I hope you found this helpful in helping you learn to think biblically about everything. And remember that the thinking part is only part. We have to live it out. And for that, I say, go spend some time strengthening your relationship with God and your personal devotion of prayer, reading his word, worship, attending church, and fellowship with other believers. If we just keep it in thinking, then, that's no bueno. All right. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll zoom out on my cat's back.